The distress signal cut through my control room like a blade through silk. Cold, desperate, and wrong. I'm Krell 9, a 20-cycle veteran of the Galactic Transit Network. I've processed engine failures, hull breaches, navigation errors, nothing that ever made my stomach twist, but this time my scales turned pale gray, the universal sign of dread. I'd heard about humans, of course. Fragile creatures. Soft tissue, slow reflexes, narrow vision. They had no business surviving space, let alone navigating a debris field. The other species tolerated them, barely. Newcomers with more enthusiasm than sense. But right now, I didn't care about any of that. "Repeat that message," I ordered, my claws already dancing across the interface. The automated voice returned, emotionless. "Transport vessel Delta 739. Critical engine collapse. Life support fading. 42 juvenile passengers aboard. Species, Vanaki. 42 Vanaki children. The Vanaki control 17 star systems. Their political reach is absolute. If those kids didn't make it home, careers would end, administrations would fall, and then the location appeared on my screen. Grid Quadrant Theta 99, I whispered, drifting toward the Helios wreckage zone. The Helios field, a graveyard of broken warships and forgotten battles. Even seasoned pilots avoid it. And now, children drifting straight into its heart. I ran the numbers. Nearest rescue vessel, 14 hours away. Transport life support, 6 hours remaining. "Give me every ship in that quadrant," I snapped at my assistant Mip. He trembled, fur bristling. "Sir, there's only one vessel within range. A cargo hauler, single operator, human registry." A human. Of course. The galaxy's weakest species, barely 2 generations post-contact. Reckless, unpredictable. Known for ignoring safety protocols as if danger were a recreational activity, but they were my only option. "Patch me through." The connection crackled. A woman's voice answered, casual, almost cheerful. "Cargo hauler Wandering Star, Captain Emma Voss speaking. What's the situation?" "Captain Voss, this is Krell 9, traffic control. A transport vessel with 42 Vanaki children is experiencing catastrophic failure. They're drifting into the Helios debris field. You're the only ship in rescue range." Silence. Long, terrible silence. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. 42 kids in the Helios field? Well, that's just perfect. Send me the coordinates. "Captain, the debris field is extremely dangerous. Protocol recommends waiting for—" "Yeah, I'm sure your protocols are wonderful," she interrupted. "But those same protocols mean those kids die cold and scared in about 6 hours. So coordinates? Now." I transmitted the data, my hands shaking. "Captain Voss, the Vanaki government will be monitoring this situation closely. These children belong to influential families." "Noted. Anything else?" "Their oxygen recyclers are failing. The youngest will suffocate first." Her response made my blood run cold. "Then I better move fast. Wandering Star out." The next 2 hours were agony. I watched Emma's ship, a tiny dot on my sensors, race toward the debris field at speeds that violated every safety regulation. Heat signatures climbed into the red zone. "Captain, your engine temperature is critical." "I know," she grunted. "Turns out old haulers don't like being treated like race cars. Who knew? Perhaps reduce speed? Can't. Every minute counts." Pause. "Besides, she'll hold. I've pushed her harder." That did not comfort me. As her ship entered the debris field, my sensors went chaotic. Electromagnetic interference, radiation pockets, wreckage the size of buildings drifting in deadly silence. Then her voice returned, focused and sharp. "Visual on the transport. She's tumbling. Lost attitude control." She paused. "Less than 30 minutes from a dense debris section that'll tear her apart." "Captain, that section is impassable." "Then I'll get them before then. Stand by." Stand by. As if I could do anything else. What followed defied explanation. Emma threaded her ship through debris gaps barely wider than her hull. She moved like water through rocks, impossible, graceful, insane. Mip stopped pretending to work and just clutched my arm. "How is she doing that?" he whispered. I had no answer. Human reflexes are supposed to be slow. Their visual processing is limited. By every logical metric, she should have been space dust, but she wasn't. "Matching their rotation now," Emma announced. "This'll be tricky. Their airlock is damaged. I'll have to use the emergency dorsal hatch. Captain, that hatch isn't designed for docking, especially not with a spinning ship." "Good thing I'm not reading the manual then. Hold on, I need to concentrate." The next 10 minutes aged me a decade. Emma matched the transport's velocity, trajectory, and rotation, all while dodging debris and compensating for gravitational anomalies. It was impossible. Then her ship kissed the transport's hull. Magnetic clamps engaged. Metal groaned. For one heart-stopping moment, I thought both vessels would tear apart. "Docked," Emma said, breathing hard. "Now comes the fun part." "The fun part?" "Yeah, getting 42 scared kids through an emergency hatch without anyone panicking." She said it like she was describing a grocery run. Later, the engineers would calculate the G-forces she endured during those maneuvers. They said no known species could have remained conscious. Emma didn't even mention it. Over the next hour, I listened to Emma work. Her voice came through my speakers, warm, steady, impossible to fear. "Hey there, sweethearts. My name's Emma. I know you're scared. That's okay. We're going to play a game." I pulled up the interior feed. The Vanicki children looked terrible. Blue skin gone pale, breathing shallow. Several of the youngest were already unconscious. Emma moved among them with quiet efficiency. She carried the weakest herself, coaxed the hesitant, joked with the terrified. "That's it, buddy. You're doing great. Just a little further." One child, eyes glazed with hypoxia, grabbed her suit. "Are we going to die?" Emma knelt down. Even through the grainy feed, I saw her fierce determination. "Not today," she said. "I promise you, not today." 20 minutes. That's how long it took her to evacuate all 42 children. 20 minutes of constant motion, encouragement, and something I was beginning to recognize as a particularly human refusal to accept failure. "All passengers secured," Emma finally announced, voice raw. "Initiating undocking." "Captain, I'm reading structural stress in your cargo bay. You're exceeding weight capacity." "Yeah, well, I wasn't about to leave anyone behind to make the math work. She'll hold." The clamps released. Emma's ship pulled away just as a chunk of debris the size of a building tumbled through the space she'd occupied seconds earlier. "That was close," she muttered. "Captain Voss, your return trajectory takes you back through the debris field. In your current condition, strained engines, overloaded ship, I strongly recommend waiting for escort vessels." "Can't do that, Krell. These kids need medical attention now, not in 6 hours." Pause. Besides, what's life without a little excitement? The return flight was worse. Emma's ship, heavy, sluggish, running on borrowed time, limped through the debris field. Several times collisions seemed inevitable. Each time, by sheer skill or miracle, she found a way through. When her ship finally cleared the field, I realized I'd been holding my breath for nearly an hour. Mip had actually passed out and lay in a small heap beside my console. Wandering star to station control. Package delivered more or less in one piece, requesting priority docking and medical teams. "Medical teams standing by, Captain. Excellent work. Thanks, these kids are tough. A few are already perking up with clean air. The little ones are still out, but I think they'll be okay." As her ship approached, I pulled up every file I could find on human psychology. I needed to understand what I'd just witnessed. This wasn't competence. This was something that transcended training. By the time Emma docked, word had spread across the station. The Vanicki Council had been alerted. News feeds were picking up the story. I left my post for the first time in hours and made my way to the docking bay. I needed to see her, this human who had done the impossible. The bay was chaos. Medical teams swarmed her ship. Station personnel crowded observation windows. And there, at the bottom of the ramp, stood Emma Voss. She was smaller than I expected. Humans aren't large by galactic standards, but the stories had made me imagine someone imposing. Instead, I found an average-height woman with short, dark hair plastered to her forehead and eyes that seemed too alert for someone who should be collapsing. I approached slowly. "Captain Voss, what you did today was remarkable. In 20 cycles, I've never witnessed anything like it." She shrugged. "Just did what needed doing. Those kids deserved a chance to go home. You risked your life, your ship, everything for strangers." "Well, yeah, they were kids. What kind of person would I be if I didn't at least try?" She glanced back at her ship. "Though I'll admit, there were moments I thought I'd bitten off more than I could chew." Before I could respond, a commotion erupted. Vanaki officials had arrived, elaborate robes swirling, urgent purpose in every step. At their head, Council Elder Vra, one of the most powerful figures in the sector. Emma tensed. "Is that who I think it is?" "Yes. Brace yourself, Captain. The Vanaki don't do gratitude quietly." Elder Vra approached with a solemnity that silenced the entire bay. His deep purple scales, markers of advanced age and status, gleamed under the lights. "Captain Emma Voss," he intoned, "you have saved 42 children today, including my youngest grandchild." Emma looked genuinely uncomfortable. "Elder Vra, I just did what anyone would do." "No," he said firmly. "What you did, few would have attempted. Fewer still would have succeeded. The Helios debris field has claimed many experienced pilots, yet you, in a cargo hauler, accomplished the impossible." He paused, his ancient eyes studying her. "Your species. What else are you capable of?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unsettling. He reached into his robes and produced a deep blue medallion carved with shifting patterns. "This is the Star of Ren, the highest civilian honor my people can bestow. It has been awarded only 17 times in our recorded history. You are the 18th recipient, and the first human." Emma stared as he placed it around her neck. I don't know what to say." "Say nothing. Just know that the Vanaki people will remember this day. We will remember Emma Voss, the human who valued our children's lives above her own safety. This story will be taught for generations to come." And it was. Within hours, the story had spread across the sector. By the next day, it reached the core systems. Emma Voss, the cargo hauler who saved 42 children, became an overnight sensation. News feeds couldn't get enough. Danger, heroism, children in peril, a happy ending. But more than that, it had something the galaxy hadn't quite seen before. A human demonstrating the very best of humanity, courage, compassion, and an absolute refusal to abandon the innocent. 3 days later, I received a communication that made my scales turn orange with anxiety. Director Thene, a notoriously stern Cortexian who had never expressed joy in his 40-cycle career, was demanding a press conference. "Krell 9, his gravelly voice rumbled. "Coordinate a press conference today. Station main atrium, Captain Emma Voss will speak." "Director, Captain Voss is a civilian. She has no media experience." "Negative. The people want to hear from her. Every major network in 3 sectors is demanding access. Make it happen." I found Emma in the station cantina, alone at a corner table with what appeared to be her 3rd cup of coffee. Dark circles underlined her eyes. "Captain Voss." "Emma's fine, Krell. I think we're past formalities." "Emma, then. You're expected to give a press conference in approximately 4 hours." She nearly choked. "A what?" "No. Absolutely not. I haul cargo. That's my entire skill set. The Commerce Authority, the Vanaki Council, and approximately 700 million beings disagree." The press conference was a disaster in the most entertaining way possible. The main atrium was packed, holographic cameras everywhere, representatives from dozens of news organizations. Emma stood at the podium looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Director Tini gave a brief introduction, his monotone somehow making her accomplishments sound like a grocery list. Then Emma was alone at the podium. "Hi," she started, voice cracking. I'm Emma Voss. Apparently I'm supposed to talk about the rescue, so... Yeah, that happened. A reporter leaned forward. Captain Voss, when you first received the distress call, what was your immediate thought? Honestly, that someone was having a really bad day and I might be able to help make it slightly less bad. Were you afraid? Terrified, Emma admitted. The Helios field is no joke, but being scared doesn't mean you don't act. It just means you act carefully while your heart tries to escape through your chest. Many analysts are calling your piloting skills supernatural. How did you develop such abilities? Emma laughed. Supernatural? No. I learned to fly in asteroid belts near Earth's colony stations. You either get good at threading tight spaces, or you become a permanent fixture in the debris. Plus, I spent a questionable amount of my youth racing modified shuttles through obstacle courses that were probably illegal. The reporters ate it up. Her honesty, her casual demeanor, the way she deflected praise while making the impossible sound merely difficult. What about the children? How did you keep them calm? Emma's expression softened. Kids are resilient, way more than adults give them credit for. I just talked to them like they were people, not fragile things. Told them the truth about what we were doing and what I needed from them. Turns out when you treat someone with respect, even if they're young and scared, they rise to the occasion. A young reporter asked the question that silenced the room. Captain Voss, why did you do it? You had no obligation. No one would have blamed you for refusing, so... Why? Emma was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but clear. My mother used to tell me that the measure of a person isn't what they do when people are watching or when there's a reward waiting. It's what they do when no one would know. When there's no benefit except knowing you tried. She paused. Those kids didn't know me. They didn't know humans. They were just scared and running out of time. If I had refused, if I'd calculated the risks and decided my safety was more important, I could have lived with that decision legally. But I couldn't have lived with it morally, so I didn't refuse, simple as that. The atrium went silent. I saw several reporters with moisture in their optical organs, an emotional response that transcended species. Then the applause started. It began with a Vanaki journalist and spread like wildfire. Within seconds, every being was expressing approval in their species-specific way. Chittering, humming, clicking, clapping, a symphony of appreciation. Emma looked genuinely uncomfortable. Director Tni stepped forward, mercifully ending the conference. I made my way to her side. That was well handled. She wiped her forehead. That was awful. How do politicians do that for a living? Practice. And significantly larger egos. Emma snorted. Fair point. Over the next few days, the situation escalated in ways none of us could have predicted. The press conference footage went viral, spreading faster than FTL travel. Emma's face appeared everywhere. Her words were quoted, analyzed, debated. But more than that, something shifted in how humans were perceived across the galaxy. Before the rescue, humans were curiosities. The newcomers who'd stumbled into galactic society with more enthusiasm than sense. Tolerated, sometimes appreciated for innovation. Rarely taken seriously. Emma changed that. Suddenly, humans weren't just the new kids making noise. They were beings capable of extraordinary courage, of placing others above themselves, of succeeding through sheer determination when logic suggested failure. Emma became a symbol not just of human capability, but of human character. The Vanaki Council issued a formal declaration naming Emma an honorary member of their species, a title that came with diplomatic privileges even most council members didn't possess. 3 other species extended similar offers within the week. Trade agreements, stalled for months, suddenly moved forward. Governments specifically cited Emma's actions as evidence that humans could be trusted. The Human Colonial Authority reported a 60% increase in aliens wanting to visit or work in human territories. Emma herself seemed utterly bewildered. I saved some kids, she told me one evening in the observation lounge. I didn't broker peace treaties or discover new technology. I literally just did the decent thing. And that, I said, is precisely why it matters. Any species can develop technology or negotiate treaties. Those are learned skills. What you demonstrated was character, and character cannot be taught or programmed. It simply exists. Or it does not. She was quiet for a moment. Do you think it's like this for all humans, or am I just weird? I considered carefully. From what I've learned about your species, I believe you represent something that exists in all humans to varying degrees. An impulse toward compassion, a resistance to accepting defeat, a tendency to help even when helping is difficult or dangerous. Not all humans would have done what you did, but the potential exists in your people in a way that seems more pronounced than in most others. That's either really flattering or kind of terrifying, perhaps both. 2 weeks after the rescue, I received another communication from Director Thane, brief and unusual for someone of his rigid demeanor. Krell 9, the Galactic Council has requested Captain Voss's presence at the Central Assembly. They wish to present her with the humanitarian commendation, an honor reserved for beings who've demonstrated exceptional service to multiple species, coordinate her transport and accompany her. When I told Emma, she looked like she might faint. No, absolutely not. I'm not qualified. I'll say something stupid and start an interstellar incident. Emma, you've already spoken to hundreds of reporters without incident. You've handled every public appearance with grace. The Council isn't asking you to negotiate treaties. They simply wish to honor you publicly. That's even worse. What am I supposed to do at a ceremony? Stand there. Accept the commendation, say thank you, try not to panic. She gave me a look that suggested my advice was less than helpful. The trip to the Central Assembly took 3 days. Emma spent most of it pacing her cabin, practicing speeches she'd never give, and consuming alarming quantities of coffee. When we finally arrived at the assembly station, a massive structure orbiting a triple star system, she stopped at a viewing port and stared. "It's beautiful," she whispered. It was. The station gleamed like a jewel against 3 suns. Ships of every conceivable design moved in orchestrated patterns, a ballet of controlled chaos. The ceremony was held in the Grand Assembly Hall, a space so vast that weather patterns occasionally formed near the ceiling. Representatives from every council species filled tiered seating. Emma walked to the central platform with as much dignity as she could manage, which was considerably more than she seemed to think. Council Speaker Morvath, an ancient being whose species had been spacefaring before humans discovered fire, addressed the assembly. "We gather today to recognize an act of extraordinary courage and compassion. Captain Emma Voss, representing humanity, risked everything to save lives that were not her own, to protect children of a species she had never met, to uphold the principle that binds our civilizations together. Life is precious and worth protecting." The ceremony continued with speeches from various council members. The Venaki representative spoke of gratitude. The safety commissioner spoke of courage. The human ambassador, a dignified woman named Catherine Mills, spoke of pride in representing a species capable of producing individuals like Emma. Then it was Emma's turn. She approached slowly, hands clasped behind her back. "Honored council members, representatives of the galactic community, I stand before you feeling somewhat like a fraud." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Not because what I did wasn't real, but because everyone keeps acting like it was special. Where I come from on Earth, we have a saying, see something, say something, do something. It means that when you witness a problem, you speak up, and then you take action. That's all I did. She took a breath. I saw children in danger. I called for help. And when I realized I was the only help available, I did something about it. I'm not a hero. I'm not exceptionally brave. I'm just a person who was in a position to help and chose to do so. Honestly, I think most beings, regardless of species, would have made the same choice if they'd been in my position. The capacity for compassion, for courage, for putting others first. That's not unique to humans. It's not unique to any species. It's what connects all of us as thinking, feeling beings. She held up the commendation. I accept this honor not for myself alone, but on behalf of everyone who has ever made the difficult choice to help when helping was hard. Every rescue worker who runs toward danger, Every medical professional who treats the sick, every ordinary person who sees someone struggling and extends a hand. Those are the real heroes. And I hope my actions remind all of us to be a little braver, a little kinder, and a little more willing to take risks for each other. The applause was deafening. I watched beings from across the galaxy stand in unison, expressing approval in hundreds of different ways. And I realized something that kept me awake for nights afterward. Emma had done more than save 42 children. She had reminded an entire galaxy of what they could be. But more than that, she had revealed something terrifying. If one human could do that, what could 100 do? 1,000? We had welcomed wolves into the galaxy and called them sheep. After the ceremony, as we made our way through crowds of well-wishers, I noticed something interesting. People weren't just congratulating her. They were sharing their own stories. Times they'd helped others, times they'd been helped, times they wished they'd been braver. Emma listened to every story with genuine interest, treating each being with the same respect and warmth regardless of status or species. We were preparing to leave when a young human male approached. Cargo apprentice uniform, nervous hands. "Captain Voss? I just wanted to say thank you. I've been hauling cargo for 6 months and it's been really hard. I kept thinking I made a mistake. But after hearing about what you did, how you used your hauler to save lives, it reminded me that there's dignity in any work if you approach it with integrity. So, thank you." Emma smiled. "What's your name?" "Marcus, ma'am." "Well, Marcus, cargo hauling is honest work. You're moving things people need from where they are to where they're needed. That matters. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise. And hey, if you keep at it, maybe someday you'll be in a position to help someone too. You never know when your skills might make all the difference." The young man left, looking like she'd handed him the keys to the universe. 3 months after the rescue, I received a notification that made me laugh, a sound that startled Mip so badly he fell off his perch. The Galactic Commerce Authority had established a new rapid response division for emergencies in remote areas. The flagship was a specially modified cargo hauler equipped with enhanced engines, medical facilities, and hazardous environment navigation systems. The captain of that vessel, to absolutely no one's surprise, was Emma Voss. Her first mission under the new arrangement, assisting a research station that had lost power during a solar storm. Her second, recovering a damaged probe with irreplaceable data. Her third, pulling a mining crew out of a collapsing asteroid. Each mission added to her legend. But more importantly, each mission proved that her success in the Helios field hadn't been luck. Emma was genuinely, remarkably good at the impossible. But something else happened too. Something quieter, but perhaps more significant. Other pilots, inspired by Emma's example, began volunteering for the Rapid Response Division. Humans, certainly, but also Quilari, Branaki, Cortexians, and dozens of other species. They came with different ships and different skills, but the same fundamental willingness to help when help was needed. Emma had started something, a movement she never intended, a reminder that heroism wasn't about species or exceptional abilities. It was about choice and character. I kept in contact with her, our professional relationship evolving into something resembling friendship. She would occasionally stop by between missions, always with a story about some narrow escape or unexpected complication that had somehow worked out. The last time I saw Emma in person was 2 years after the initial rescue. She'd stopped by before embarking on a particularly challenging mission, something involving a diplomatic vessel stranded near a black hole's event horizon. "That sounds unnecessarily dangerous," I told her. "Probably," she agreed cheerfully, "but they've got kids on that ship too. And apparently I have a reputation now." "Your reputation will not save you if you get pulled into a black hole." "True, but my ship's upgraded engines and my devastatingly good looks might do the trick." I watched her board her ship, that same modified hauler that had started everything, now covered in official insignia and carrying equipment I barely understood. She waved from the cockpit, grinned that infuriating human grin, and launched into space with the casual confidence of someone who had made the impossible routine. The news reports came 3 days later. Emma had successfully extracted the diplomatic vessel, though the maneuver had required calculations that pushed both her ship and crew to their absolute limits. The rescued diplomats praised her skill, her courage, and her apparently endless supply of terrible jokes that had kept everyone calm during the extraction. The galaxy had indeed remembered Emma Voss, the cargo hauler who saved 42 children and reminded everyone what they could be. But more than that, the galaxy had learned from her, had absorbed her example, and had become perhaps just slightly better for it, and also slightly more afraid. As for me, I continued my work at traffic control, coordinating ships and managing the endless flow of vessels through my sector. But whenever someone told me that a task was impossible, that the risks were too high, that success was improbable, I thought of Emma Voss flying through the Helios debris field with nothing but skill, determination, and 42 lives depending on her success. And I reminded them that impossible was just a word, and that sometimes, just sometimes, courage and compassion could overcome any calculation. But I also started watching humans more carefully, reading their history, learning what else they'd done that the official files called miracles, but looked suspiciously like patterns. After all, I had seen it happen. I had watched a human do the impossible simply because someone needed help, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we had only seen the beginning of what they were capable of. The question that kept me awake wasn't whether humans could save us. It was whether anyone could stop them if they chose not to. If this story of ordinary courage changing the galaxy moved you, hit like and don't forget to subscribe to Ascension of Man for more tales of humanity's rise.